An Introduction to a Democracy in Demise, 2011. A Lyrical Sonata in 3 parts. Part 2. Debt Incorporated and the American Consumer Society. We are living in the time of a democracy in demise, an American consumer democracy that has fallen into a slippery sloped pit of debt, compulsively dug by its own consumptive greed. The erosive economics and politics of consumerism have devolved our democracy into a society of citizen debtors who labor in obligation and bondage to the servitude of debt, a commodity repackaged and resold within a seal of security. What's good for business is good for America sells better to the public than moral appeals for social justice. In the American consumer democracy, politicians and products, contracts and public policies, all claims of content, benefits, intention, and promises of performance are not what they claim to be. What's good for a falsehood is not so good for the truth. Buyer beware. Republicans and Democrats each position themselves to become the trusted message and face of political solutions for general consumption. They each present themselves as well-established product lines, the means for purchasing class-based social policies with different points of sale and demographic packaging. Buyer, beware. We the people, the too small to rescue, the too easy to ignore, the too taxed to spend middle class and working poor. We are the debtors of guarantee, bearing all financial risk while receiving none of the benefits of the bailouts given to fat cat gamblers and the royal elite of Wall Street, whose singular purpose, by any means necessary, is to enrich themselves at the expense and to the disadvantage of our honesty and trust. The federal insurance protecting personal bank deposits from armed robbery is now the cover used by banks to steal money from the Treasury that is insured by taxpayers, which in effect is money borrowed on the backs of our grandchildren, born burdened to labor paying off our debts. Buyer beware. Consumer debt is a rechargeable, self-renewing servitude maintained by the maximum percentage of payment paid primarily towards interest. An unprincipled commodity to be developed, marketed, and sold. Our debt goes much deeper than the holes in our pockets. We are living in the time of a democracy in demise, the American democracy of national debt and its collapse beneath the weight of political and moral bankruptcy. our debts are due, to our daily excesses, a malignancy of appetites, manipulated to consume beyond our means and needs. In order to sustain itself, a marketplace dominated by credit mongers profits from impoverishment. And unlike the economic tide that lifts all boats equally, the current economic recession that has buoyed in safe harbors the yachts of the wealthy have subjected the tugboats of the middle class, the rowboats of labor, and the floating debris of the working poor to the roughest seas seen in decades. There are far too many people in America who feel washed up on the shore, which, considering the eccentricities of circumstance, is far better than being swept out to sea. But for the people tricked into debt, who have lost everything, their jobs, their homes, their pensions, their hope, forever being able to find their way back onto solid financial ground, their future is a featureless horizon. Buyer beware. We are living in the time of a democracy in demise, the financial wasteland of a plundered economy, of career psychopaths posing as politicians, publicly swearing their allegiances to brand name ideologies. The idolatry of money has expanded beyond the cult centers of commerce and into the inner political sanctums, once charged with preserving the integrity of our democracy. There, beneath the subterfuge of capital expenditures, through rituals reserved for mammon, the petitioners for tyranny by influence and favor, consolidating its continuous intrusions upon our liberties, as the Beltway business as usual alternative ownership option, the disestablishment of our democracy facilitates the transfer of government far from the rule of the law. We the people, a country ununited by common duty or purpose, one nation in the servitude of debt, have been divested.